Hi, welcome to the Lisa Saunders Show. I'm Lisa Saunders, and now that it's gardening season, that's why I wore a scarf to get you all in the mood. You want to stay safe out there while you're gardening. Gardening doesn't sound that dangerous, but actually, if you don't do it right, you can end up with some injuries. And to that effect, I invited Dr. Joanne Z. Moore, owner of Shoreline Physical Therapy in East Lyme. Welcome.
Thank you for having me.
And Megan, I've never met you before, so welcome to my show. This is Megan Tully from Portland, Connecticut.
Yes.
How far is that? We're in Groton right now. How far is that from here? Like
probably about 50 minutes, but yeah, 50? To an hour, depending on the traffic.
I've been there once. So you're from Portland, Connecticut, and you're a graduate student from Sacred Heart University. Mm-hmm. You're a student occupational therapist intern at Shoreline Physical Therapy in East Lyme. And you're going to come here, and together you're going to tell me how I can garden safely,
yes.
Right? Okay. I'm just curious, where is Sacred Heart University?
Fairfield, Connecticut.
Oh, okay. And that's a little ways from here. And do you commute every day to Joanne's office in East Lyme?
I do.
Okay.
Yep.
How long does that take you?
About 45 minutes.
All right.
Yep.
So there must be some exercises that you could tell us about in the car. We don't have time for that today. But anyway, I'm not a gardener. I don't enjoy it at all, but I love looking at other people's gardens. Mm-hmm. But I do love to mow, and I have been injured mowing the lawn, I think maybe from the vibration. I don't know. I'm interested to hear all the different ways that you suggest we garden and why. Why should we love gardening? Why should I be out there?
Well, the thing about gardening is it has many benefits. First, it's an excellent physical activity. Gardening activities such as digging, weeding, planting, and other repetitive tasks that require strength are actually an excellent low-impact exercise.
Oh, well, now what does low impact mean?
You're not providing so much force on your body.
Oh, okay. Mm-hmm. So is that a good thing?
Yeah. So
because you're not straining certain things like you would running or something? Okay.
So for individuals that find more vigorous activity to be a challenge, gardening is an excellent choice for exercise.
And that counts for burning calories and stuff?
Believe it or not.
Okay, so if you have one of those walking meters, you get to count all those steps, I guess, if you carry your phone with you.
Definitely.
You can count that as steps. Mm-hmm. All right, and what are the other benefits? So physical.
So in addition to physical, there are also mental benefits. Gardening can actually support your mental well-being through promoting relaxation and stress relief. Gardens really provide us with a harmonious space where we're able to unwind, reflect, and restore ourselves, as well as a place where we can really take in and appreciate the beauty and colors of nature. So gardening, it's really evolved from a hobby to a therapy for both the body and the soul.
Okay.
And although there are these many physical and mental benefits, many gardeners may be unaware of the potential risk of injury that can occur while gardening.
Yeah, because I'm primarily a lawnmower, and I hope that counts as gardening, does it? You'll count it? Because I just love how you just mow and then you can see immediate effect, from one row to the next. Mm-hmm. But, I do get hit by rocks and assorted things, and my nephew lost part of a toe. So some of gardening is equipment, like trimming. I guess, does trimming count? Because I like to trim, too.
Yes,
those little,
pruning, weeding.
All right.
There's many aspects to gardening.
All right. So what are some of the injuries? Okay, obviously mowing your foot over, but realistically, you're talking more about people that are digging and making these beautiful things where plants are coming out. Mm-hmm. Food, or like I said, I love in my neighbor's garden because I really look at their garden and enjoy it. When I walk the dog, I really thank them when I see them. Thank you so much for doing this work that I don't feel like doing, because it makes my walks so much more pleasant. So is that gardener enjoying it, you think, and how should they enjoy it without hurting themselves? Like, what kind of injuries are they? Am I looking at when I look at these people that make my world a nicer place? What are they risking to give me that pleasure?
Exactly. So the most common types I'll talk about hand injuries that can occur in the garden include tendinitis and carpal tunnel syndrome.
Really?
Yes.
Because that sounds like carpal tunnel sounds like a writer's disease, but that's a gardener's disease too?
Yes. So what actually happens? It can occur from participating in many different gardening activities. Sorry. Okay. It's when you're performing them for a long period of time, especially when your hands or wrists are in an awkward position. And what happens from being in this position for so long is that the nerve that travels through the carpal tunnel of the wrist can become compressed. And then what the individual then experiences is a numbness and tingling in their hand.
Right. All right, so that's carpal tunnel. What's tendinitis?
So tendinitis happens from performing repetitive action tasks. And what I mean by repetitive action is that you're doing the same motion over and over again. So when you're in the garden digging, you're doing the same motion again and then again and again. And what can happen is the tendons within your elbow as well as your wrist can become tender, inflamed, and swollen.
Now, do you see that more in gardening season? Patients come in with that?
I would say so.
Okay, all right. What else can you get?
So in addition to these injuries that can happen as a result from gardening, many gardeners bring with them pre-existing conditions into the garden with them, such as arthritis. And these individuals with arthritis experience joint pain and stiffness, and this can make gardening really difficult as well.
Oh, okay. So I'm not so stupid to run out and I buy potted plants. That's how I garden. Like they're in a pot and I lay them on the grass. And of course they die quickly because if I forget to water them. But anyway, so people that actually do the digging, these are the things they have to worry about.
Yes.
Now, how do they prevent these injuries?
Well, there's good news. You can prevent or reduce your risk of injury through the use of ergonomic approaches, also often termed joint protection and energy conservation techniques.
Is that what ergonomics means?
So yeah, when we refer to the word ergonomic, as far as when we're talking about gardening, we're talking about performing gardening in the safest way possible while lessening the physical impact on our bodies.
Okay, and so what can you do to do that?
Well, I have a bunch of different strategies to give you tonight. Do you mind if I start going through
Go ahead,
that?
let's do it.
Yes, definitely. All right, so the first strategy, before you even get started, you want to warm up your muscles and your joints through some nice gentle stretching. You want to do this because, like I said, gardening is a physical activity, just like baseball players before they go and start a game. They want to warm up their muscles and their joints. So I thought I would demonstrate for you.
Yes, thank you.
One quick stretching exercise you can do before you go in the garden.
Okay.
So this one is called the traffic cop. What you want to do, you guys can join in if you'd like. You want to bring your arms up just shoulder height.
Shoulder height.
We'll start with the left side. You want to hold on to your hand, and you're going to bring it up toward the ceiling. And this is why it's called the traffic cop. You're telling someone to stop.
Okay. And this is, I think, one of the exercises I was given for my carpal tunnel. So this like a normal thing, I guess, that people do? Okay.
So you can see here, we're just holding it here for about 10 seconds. We're getting a nice stretch here in our wrist. After about 10 seconds there, you're going to turn your palm down towards the ground and hold it there for another 10 seconds. So we're just waking up our joints, getting
So you're pulling. You're pulling?
a little bit of pressure. Nothing
nothing
extreme.
horrible.
Yeah, but here on the outside of my hand.
Oh, your nails look so nice.
Thank you.
I should have done mine for the show.
Yep. And after you do this hand, switch over to the other one and do the same exact thing.
Okay.
And then again.
And this is you do this before you go out there, or you could be in your sunshine, but you need to be doing this first before you're getting out your tools and everything. Okay.
You want to do that right before.
Okay.
So then another strategy I have is if you haven't already, you want to go out and buy a good pair of sturdy gloves. Not only are they very fashionable, but the light compression that gloves offer to your hands really provide a nice cushion to your joints.
The what impression? What did you just say?
The compression that
the compression
they offer to your hand.
These aren't just your normal big clunky gloves. These are, like as you say, stylish and fitting.
Yeah, you can try them on.
Where do you get things like this?
Your local hard
True
store.
Grip? All right, so you want something that's really fitting.
And if you'll notice on these gloves in particular, they have these nice grips on the bottom.
Oh yeah.
And these can help to prevent you really having a tight grip on your tool. And this is very important, especially to protect your joints. When you have such a tight grasp, you're putting a lot of stress and pressure on your joints.
Oh, this is wonderful. Honestly, I've never seen gloves like this.
Yeah, they're very nice,
Are
very
these
comfortable.
what bikers wear? I mean, so uses plumbing, electrical, hand and power tools. Okay, and these
They
is
can do it
hardware
all.
store. Okay, this is good. I never knew about stuff
Don't
like
they
this.
feel comfortable on your hand?
They do, and I'll have to get some for my husband because he is the one who goes out there and weeds and stuff like that.
Yeah, you had talked a little bit about mowing the lawn and getting a vibration up through the arm. If that can absorb some of that vibration, that can reduce the risk of carpal tunnel as well.
Okay, so then I should be wearing these too.
And that's why bike riders wear those gloves, to absorb the shock.
Oh, this is really, honestly, I've never seen these. This is wonderful. Thank you. All right. What else do we get? I love when you get supplies.
Right, so the next thing that's really important is proper body mechanics.
Okay.
And posture. Often when we think of posture, we think of the proper alignment of our trunk, which is very important. But
I better sit up now
right?
that I'm looking at both of you. I realize I'm slouching.
But what is equally as important is the proper positioning of your distal joints, such as your elbow and your wrist. So I wanted to demonstrate for you today the proper body mechanics and postures to have while using small hand tools like this shovel. So when using a tool like this, you want to maintain your wrist in a neutral position. And what I mean by neutral is that your wrist is in line with your forearm. You're not overextending it or flexing it. And actually maintaining this position, your grip strength is at its maximum, and you're reducing the stress on your wrist by avoiding these extremes of extension and flexion.
But how are you supposed to be digging, like, you know what I mean? Or like with your arms straight? Like
Well, you see, even if I move like this,
okay.
you know, you're not jabbing, getting
Okay.
that overextension, or I don't know if what this
And how do
motion
you
would be.
recommend you sit on the ground? On your knees?
So the object is to use your bigger muscles
Okay.
for whatever you're doing. So to get down onto the ground, you want to come down into a full squat with your back up straight. Coming down on one knee is nice. You can even sit on a little cushion here, like baseball catchers do. They put a little cushion between their bottom and their heel.
Oh, okay.
Or you can get a low bench and sit on. And so anything that you can do, you want to be as close to your work as you can. You don't want to be reaching far away because that's going to be stressful on your back.
Okay.
So get as close as possible to the work that you're doing. And then grip and then lift with your leg muscles. Because your leg muscles are much bigger than your spinal muscles.
Okay.
You don't want to be lifting with your spinal muscles.
All right, thank you. And what other fun things you have here?
So all these tools, if you notice, they have built-up grips.
Now, these are probably better tools. I mean, I think I've seen cheaper ones that don't look as nice as this. I mean, is there a particular kind of tool or?
So having a tool that's lightweight as well as has a built-up handle can decrease the amount of force on your joints,
All right.
which in turn makes you feel less stress, strain, and pain while you're gardening. It also just feels a lot comfortable in your hand when you're using it.
So it's just not worth, being chintzy on certain tools because you need to make sure that it has those so you're not ending up in a lot of pain.
Definitely.
All right.
I even have the padding on my rake, the rake handle.
Oh, and how'd you get that on there? Is that
That came this way.
okay?
And so because it's thick and rubbery, it doesn't rotate in my hand so much.
Yeah, mine
so I don't
does.
need to grip it too hard.
Oh,
It just stays with me. And again, using my whole body instead of raking vigorously with my waist, coming and then moving, using my feet rather than using my back
okay.
to do this with. And then when you get to the end and you want to fill it, you're getting it on and again lifting with your legs to get that up.
Okay.
Did I mention yet about having a tight grasp on a tool?
Well, you said don't do it, right?
Yes.
Okay.
I just wanted I forgot if I
But
mentioned
I think that's the whole point of these tools that you're showing me is they all have some sort of rubber so that I don't have to grab so hard. Like you're
yes.
just showing me in all these things that I really have to buy new tools.
Yeah, so how I had mentioned about like the gloves, it's preventing you from having that grip. Same goes with having a built-up handle.
While you're out shopping, get good shoes as well.
Definitely.
Okay, what constitutes good gardening shoes?
Something that won't slip on a wet surface.
Okay.
So you should have a good rubber grip on the bottom because every year I see many people who fracture their forearms or their hips falling on a wet grass. People love to go out in the morning when the dew is on the grass and it's just that little bit slippery and it just takes a minute to fall.
Now those are both of you. Do you have good shoes? Would
No.
You call no, you're the
No.
bad one. I won't show your shoes. But you have good shoes.
Well,
Those are good shoes.
Okay.
they're not too bad, but I wouldn't wear these in the garden probably.
Oh no, why not?
Because they're too good.
Oh, I mean, they're too good for the garden. All right, but you're just saying, but those are non-slip
But they
shoes.
they're non-slip, and that's
Okay.
really important. And the problem is sometimes when you go out in the garden in the morning with your cup of coffee, which I really want people to do, I want them to have that little bench in the garden where they can just sit and enjoy yesterday's work. And it's so beautiful and peaceful out there, and you go out there early in the morning with your coffee, but that's when it's slick. And that's when there's no one else awake to help you if you fall. So don't fall.
All right, but also you probably should keep your phone on you.
Exactly.
Definitely.
Then you never, especially if you live alone,
Yes, keep your phone.
with you so that you can
Always.
call. Okay. What do you have any other suggestions to minimize injury?
Well, I have more tools to show
Oh,
here.
oh,
Yep.
okay.
If you can see this one, it's a spring action. And this can help prevent from putting strain on your joints as well. Just as you can see here, I'm minimal effort to open and close it.
Oh my gosh,
Very
you're
easy.
right.
So having that spring action can also help from preventing injury.
All right. Oh, my poor husband, he's been doing it all wrong with cheap tools. He deserves better tools. All right, so these make nice gifts for people then. If you really love somebody, check out their
Absolutely.
gardening tools and make sure that they have
Yeah.
all these grips and
Yep.
okay.
I also have a general tip about tools. You want to make sure you keep them sharpened as well as clean.
And how do you do that?
Sharpening?
Yeah. Like I said, I'm not a gardener. Is there like a special tool? I guess like drugstore or whatever,
There's a
hardware
special-
store.
There are places in East Lyme where they'll sharpen your scissors
Oh,
for
so
you.
you can go in and take them into some place, like
Yeah.
a hardware store or something.
Yeah.
You just
They'll share.
ask and they'll, okay.
But the whole purpose in doing that is using a dull tool can take actually more energy and effort to use.
Right,
So
okay.
at the beginning of every season, check your tools out, see how they're doing, and maybe bring them down to your local store to get sharpened.
All right, that's a great idea. Do either of you garden? You garden, right? Do
Not
you?
very much.
Not very much. Do you garden?
I have actually, and that's the great thing about gardening. It can be for all ages. I have done one with my mom in the past.
Oh, that's not,
Yeah.
what a nice memory
Yeah.
that is. So that's one reason to garden is I should do it with my mother. She loves
Yeah.
to garden.
It can be a
So
fun
when she
bonding
visits
activity.
me, I could ask her to plant my stuff for me, and I'll keep her company.
Yeah, one of my favorite jobs was I worked at the South Carolina State Hospital. And we brought people who were, and I was a member of a garden club at that time, and our club partnered with patients there, especially people who were experiencing depression. And we built a garden, and all of those patients got to come out and dig in the dirt and plant and weed and water, watch things grow, and then bring the flowers into their room, or
that
eat
is-
eat the
yeah.
fresh tomatoes. And that's a mood elevator.
Right.
There's no question about it. It was for us, and it was for them as well. It's just a lovely thing to do for people.
Now, one easier way might maybe if somebody really can't bend down, like window boxes. That might.
Oh,
is that an easy-
absolutely.
I mean, I don't know anything about.
All right,
it, so
I have window boxes.
Okay.
And you can also get elevated boxes too, so you can stand, or even in a wheelchair. You'll see a lot of the nursing homes in the area have gardens that can be tended by wheelchair. So you can just push along and then pull a few weeds and push some more.
As well as just having a potted garden, just in small pots instead of having a large one can be easier to maintain.
Right. But otherwise, it doesn't count as much for exercise. So if you want exercise,
Yeah. Well, just to still be able to participate.
right?
Yeah.
No, it
It's
just
something
sounds,
that's
you're almost
meaningful.
tempting me. Maybe if I grew something I could eat, that would
Yeah.
be.
Yeah, definitely.
I don't
It's a good way to start.
know. Right.
It will make you happier.
Well,
I guarantee it.
all right. So what do you do when you're tired? Like what do you suggest the length of time somebody gets out there?
Well, it's dependent really on how much you can handle, but some strategies for energy conservation are definitely to plan, organize, as well as take frequent rest breaks. So for planning, you just want to make sure you actually have enough time to do your gardening activity. You want to
So that
avoid
it's enjoyable instead of
Yes.
rush. Okay.
exactly. You want to avoid rushing because that can take actually a lot of energy to do.
Now you showed me some hand exercises. Did you have any leg exercises? Are they too hard to do on TV?
Oh.
Or like
There's
any
some
back exercise?
great exercises. The problem with gardening is that you do a lot of forward bending.
Right. So I was wondering about the back.
So you do want to stand up
Okay.
every few minutes and
And do
just
that.
bend backwards 10
Okay.
times. That'll really help. But in the off season, before you start gardening, you can do your squats to get stronger, coming down and coming up again.
Okay.
And if that looks too vigorous, you can even do sit to stand repeatedly. Sit at the edge of your seat with good posture. Try not to use your hands, but just stand and sit. And you do that 10 times, several times a day. And that's going to really help build up a lot of the muscles that you use in gardening.
Because I remember my first job ever was to pick strawberries in a farm, and that was horrible. I was so uncomfortable. And I was just a kid.
Yeah.
I don't know, what is it, 12, 13? That was agony.
Yeah, it's hard work.
To
They put the
pick
ground down
strawberries.
so low, don't they?
do. So I know that it's can hurt if you don't have the right stuff.
That's
Like,
right.
do you recommend knee pads, or like you said, you recommend a low bench?
Yep.
And knee pads, something good probably.
Do you know, I like the little cushion to sit back upon.
that you said the ball players do.
It's a foam wedge,
Okay.
and it's here and it straps to the front of you, but the foam rubber is in the back, so that when you squat, you're resting on the foam rubber. You're
All
not
right.
all the way down
and where
in
do
a
you
full
get
squat.
something like that?
Sporting goods store.
Okay, so if you told them you want to garden, and this is what.
You want the catcher's leg supports.
Okay, so that's something. And what do you do? Say you feel strain at the end of the day. Do you just go back and do these at the end of the day,
Or just resting in general
Okay.
is very important. It gives gives time to your joints to relax, which is going to prevent strain and stress to
And you
those
should
joints.
ideally be sitting in your garden and relaxing, right? And
Exactly.
looking at it.
Taking it in and appreciating it.
Exactly. Ice is always a good option.
Oh, okay.
And occupational therapists can build splints, custom-made splints to protect certain joints that patients wear to go to bed at night and let it rest really well all night.
Okay.
So
Ice
if a
and
person has a consistent problem with one of these, I would recommend a consult with occupational therapy to perhaps consider building one of those resting splints.
What's the difference between occupational and physical therapy?
Everyone asks that, and we even have trouble answering it.
I mean, in my mind, I'll tell you what I think it is for my daughter needing both. As she grew up, she had cerebral palsy. It seemed like occupational therapy was more fine motor, and physical is more bigger motor. I don't know.
Well, that's a good basic definition. We both deal with so many things. OT deals with psych, hands, children, sensory integration disorders.
Getting people doing the things that they enjoy doing. The things they
Okay.
need to do, want to do, or expected to do, like getting yourself washed and dressed.
Okay, so that's more of an occupational therapist.
We deal with some of that, and also pain management, sports injuries, balance and vestibular problems, bladder control, neurological rehab. You do neurological rehab too, like
There's a lot of
Parkinson's
overlap,
and MS.
definitely.
We share a lot of the same patients, but we would do different things with them.
Different things to them. So how did you decide occupational versus physical?
Well, I just enjoyed the functional. The thing is, they're both functional, so
Right.
I can't. I just enjoyed being able to help them functionally. Is really
Must feel good,
Yeah.
like when you relieve somebody's pain or to actually help them do something.
getting them back to being able to do the things they want to do.
And how long have you been an intern?
I've been there since the beginning of April.
Okay, so fairly new, right? And how long does this last?
I'll be there till July 1st.
Oh,
Yep.
okay, good.
Yep, it's really flying by.
Yeah, this is a profession I really admire. I think occupational therapy is one of the most intelligent professions. They really analyze why a person's having a problem doing what they want to do, and they figure out a solution. They really take their time and think. They're very insightful and they're very educated. I admire them very much.
So do you have to dissect bodies or do anything like that?
No, nothing like that.
You did. Well, yeah.
I've done 2 or 3
Okay.
Wow, very cool.
Tell us about it on another show.
on another show.
I'm kind of curious
On
what
another
goes on.
show.
Of course, I watch murder mysteries. But anyway, so you didn't have to do that. How do you know what's inside a body? I'm just kind of, you have those skeletons with...
Well, I did have to take an anatomy class, so definitely I'm aware of all the muscles, the bones, the ligaments.
There are a lot of them, aren't there?
Yes.
And like I thought it was interesting when I was having neck trouble. I was feeling it down my arm. I could barely type, and she said, "Lisa, that's your neck." And but I just thought that was interesting that you have to figure out. The person tells you one thing hurts, but you have to figure out where is it really coming from.
You almost have to be a detective.
Yeah.
Figure it out.
Yeah.
That's kind of interesting. What other exercises do you recommend people do outside?
Well, I touched on the gentle exercises with your wrists. You had talked about
And I would
those.
add some bicep
Yeah.
curls. I think
Okay.
biceps are really important. And even just walking outdoors for your cardiovascular health is going to help with endurance. People should be able to walk at least 20 minutes outdoors. And if you can get in some hills, I think that'll help you in the garden. And also walking on uneven surfaces, because you can easily twist your ankle in the garden. So stay in shape cardiovascularly, but also watch the ground surface. Look for holes.
Yes, because I was at, some of the things you mentioned earlier to me that could happen would be people get injured stepping in a hole, and you already touched on falling.
Yeah.
You said wheelbarrows. What's that for?
Use your wheelbarrow.
Oh, use it. Okay, so that's...
Have a good wheelbarrow and use it to carry anything heavy.
All right.
And have your hose where it's easily accessible for you, so you're not carrying a big heavy hose all the way across the lawn all the time.
Okay. All right.
But make things
That can
easy.
also help to conserve energy, having close placement of your tools.
Right. So like that, and that's what you're talking about, organizing, planning.
Yeah.
just
And
really-
have a variety of tasks. Maybe have a bird feeder out there. So when you start to get tired doing heavy work, stop and fill your bird feeder and talk to those little critters a little bit.
Well, now I've got to do. My neighbors all do it, and they all love to talk to each other. So it seems like a social thing when you talk with your neighbors. But we only have a couple minutes left. Is there something you wished we had touched on?
I think, enjoy gardening, but be safe doing it is really the main thing.
Are you
I
gonna,
wanted
when
to
you
get
have more
across.
time, when you get done with all your schooling, are you
That's the
gonna
thing.
go back to doing some gardening?
I could. The options are endless.
Do you have a favorite flower, or I mean, you have memorial gardens that.
But I did want to add one more thing,
Oh, yes,
if I
please
could, and that's don't forget about Lyme disease.
Oh, thank you.
And
Yes.
don't forget to wear a good spray
All right.
when you go
now,
out.
so
And check your skin at the end of the day.
Always
Have a
check.
full-length mirror in your bathroom so that you can check your skin at the end of the day when you come in.
Thank you for that reminder, because I do pick them up even when mowing.
Right.
Because sometimes I'm stupid and I don't wear full-length pants. I just run out there in shorts and sometimes even my sandals, which is
Yeah.
really dumb. But anyway, but then and then I find the tick later. Well, thank you so much for coming
Yeah,
on.
thank you so much for having us.
Well, you got to come to my house and tell me what I should do to my garden.
There you go.
And then maybe one of you come shopping with me so I can get my
Sure.
husband some
That'd be
really
fun.
nice gardening tools. Well, thank you so much for joining us on the Lisa Saunders Show, and I look forward to seeing you next week.